All right, we should be live any second. And there we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, Bar911970. Just let me know in the comments section. Well, I won't mention it yet because obviously people don't know that I've made this video. This is actually the second video in the day. And it's funny, when it rains, it pours, because for the past week, I just really haven't been in the right frame of mind to make a video, and I didn't have anything to say. And now I'm inspired to make my second video of the day. So thank you for everybody that's taking the time to listen to this, whether you watch it live or later on in the day, week, month, or year. Hopefully it will help you understand or understand a little bit more about what's going on in this world. And I love getting these epiphany moments where things just seem to make sense. And it shows how things are guided and everything happens for a reason. And hopefully this will help open your minds and your hearts and release some of the fear about what's going on in this world and what its possible meanings are. So if anybody can let me know about the microphone, if you can hear me, because somebody said there was a problem with the microphone volume in the previous video because I did an update. Well, I didn't do it voluntarily, but Microsoft did an update and it just screwed with everything. So hopefully you'll be able to hear me. So today, of course, is the 15th of June, 2017, 8:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're like me, you try to pay attention to the current events of what's going on in the world, even if you don't do it on purpose. It's inevitable to know that the world is going crazy. And a lot of people have started noticing ever since probably the 2010s that things have been different. They've been speeding up, and there's been a lot of hostility. And especially in the past 2 or 3 years, there's been a lot of division, a lot of hatred, a lot of anger, a lot of fear, a lot of darkness, and people have gotten concerned about it. And the videos I've made in the past 2 months have really geared me up towards this one. Now, it depends on what level you're at. You may or may not understand what I'm going to say. You may not agree with what I'm going to say. You may or may not believe in what I say. It's like a college professor teaching a kindergarten student. It's not that the kindergarten student would be unintelligent or stupid. It's just that he may not be at a certain level to understand or understand what that professor is teaching. So depending on what level you're at, you may or may not agree or understand or even know what I'm talking about. So that doesn't mean that I'm smarter or better. It just means I'm at a different level. And if you do, that means you're getting up there as well. So my job is to help people increase their levels, and that's what enlightenment's all about. Now, if you follow what's really going on and you're trying to get into a higher vibrational level, you definitely know about sayings like New Earth and how we're going into a transition. You see that in a lot of movies. They're talking about, especially like comic book movies, they're always talking about alternate realities and other dimensions. And when you know about quantum physics, they teach you about the fact that there's an infinite amount of universes and things like that. So why is everything going bad right now? Why are people going crazy? Well, if you watch some of my other videos, I've talked about the fact that how negativity creates change, how negativity will get people's attention, and how negativity is necessary to learn a life lesson and progress to another level. The problem is we're taught to be afraid. We're taught to take responsibility out of our own lives and give them to other people to take care of us, quote unquote. And the people that always say that we should be the ones giving our power to them are the ones that have been ruining everything and corrupting everything through greed, evil, selfishness, darkness. But they do serve a purpose. Because, for example, you cannot appreciate a warm summer day until you've experienced a freezing cold winter. So if you view the winter as negative and the summer as positive, well, how would you know the difference if you've never experienced the two? So I want people that listen to my channel to see negativity in a way that is a teacher. It is a motivator. It is something that makes you pay attention. And it's the fastest way to progress things. And this is why, if you are on the level of knowing that you're reaching a higher vibrational level, if you're reaching that quote-unquote new earth, well, for a new system to start to be created, an old system has to be destroyed. So is it any wonder why there's chaos in the streets? What do you think will cause the quickest and most notable change? And I'll give you a prime example. Let's say you have a teenage son or daughter, a teenage friend or whatever, and they lock themselves in your car. And they will not come out no matter what you do. You can bribe them, you can yell at them, you can plead with them, you can talk to them, you could just simply ask them. If they don't want to move, well, they're not going to. Now, obviously, this is not something I want anybody to do, but listen to how this will change this scenario instantly. What do you think would happen if somebody put a hornet's nest in that car? He had the window, or she had the window open enough where you could just take a hornet's nest full of hornets and just throw it in the car with that person in the car. Now, what do you think will happen to that teenager if they choose, with the hornets flying all around, to stay in that car? Well, that kid will probably get stung many times. And the longer they stay in there, the more it intensifies, to the point where it could actually kill them. But a smart person would have that happen and instantly come out of the car. So pain is a motivator. Now, you see all these problems with the feminist movements, with the lefts, with the media, with the government, with all these different things where it's getting to the point where people are very angry, people are becoming potentially violent, people are really just not communicating with each other. Well, what does that mean? Well, the old system is dying. And you notice the old system is being held alive by the elites, by the corporations, by the people who don't want their power lost. But like anything, when you grab sand in your hand, the tighter you grip, the more that slips through your fingers. In other words, the inevitable may be delayed, but it cannot be stopped. So people are getting to this point where most people don't understand vibrations, they don't understand energy, they don't understand how things around you affect you, even if you don't notice them. Put nails on a chalkboard and watch people cringe. Watch somebody walk outside with the sun out, watch their skin burn. There's just different frequencies that will affect us. A lot of them are on a subconscious level. So when you raise your vibration, even as a species, there will be plenty of people that don't understand or don't even know about what's affecting them, and they just start lashing out. Now, if people are happy with the government, for example, they'll just play along. And that's happened for hundreds, if not thousands of years. But at certain points, we reach a breaking point. And we start to riot, and we start to hurt each other, and we start to become uncomfortable. There are plenty of people that know why, but the majority of people don't understand why. They just go with the flow. And because they don't understand the energies that are raising their vibration to another level, they react in a negative way, but they serve a purpose. Because most people are, quote unquote, asleep. They don't know what's going on. But as you see more and more people get violent and angry and speak about it, it awakens more people. Now, somebody like me who does kind videos, who's not out trying to create fear, who is not trying to be controversial, is not going to gather the attention of many people. But some person with a camera watching somebody, beat somebody else up, like a liberal fighting a Republican, and they put it on camera, that's going to get lots of views. It gets people's attention. So I want you to think about what's going on in this world, and think about how lucky we are to be in this situation, because all of these people are reacting to these vibrations that they don't understand, and whether you understand something or believe something or like something does not change what is. So the majority of the people are on that kindergarten level, vibrationally speaking. They don't believe in the crazy words that the college professor is talking about, because they're going to talk about language that they have never heard before, so it's going to sound strange. So the average person out there is subconsciously reacting. That's why when they say, you ever hear somebody say, oh, when there's a full moon, people act crazy? Well, there's a reason why they call them lunatics. Luna being lunar, as in the moon. When it gets really hot, people get very aggravated. If you blast really loud, annoying music, it gets people angry. So in other words, things that they don't believe in, think don't matter, will affect them regardless. So people right now are protesting. They're becoming violent because the majority of people, they're afraid to be themselves and they just follow what everybody else does. But that serves a purpose as well. So I don't want you to see all this negativity as scary, because if it helps bring down the system and create a better world, well, what other way can we do it? So it serves a purpose. So darkness is there to make you appreciate the light. If you're afraid of the darkness, you'll never experience the joy of light. Just like you'll never appreciate a beautiful warm summer day if you've never been through a cold winter. And the colder and harsher and more dangerous the winter is, the more you look forward to that first summer day. And the more you appreciate it. How many days do you go being so glad you can go in your refrigerator and get a cup of water? Or even just turn on your sink if you want to drink that water, which I wouldn't recommend. But when was the last time you were excited over that glass of water? Probably not very often. You just go in your refrigerator, pull out your bottled water or your filtered water, and you just drink it. Well, what happens if you are on a plane, and God forbid, the plane crashes down and you end up stuck in a desert by yourself? You survive. You're the only survivor. And you have no idea where you are. And for days, you're trying to get your bearings straight. And you're in the desert with no food, no water. And it's hot. And you're walking around. And you get to the point where you remove as much clothing as you can because you're sweating like crazy. And you're starting to feel the thirst to the point where you start dehydrating. And you start getting dizzy. And you pass out, ready to die. But you get saved at the last moment and somebody hands you a glass of water. How excited will you be to have that glass of water? How good will that water taste? You won't be complaining that it's not enough ice cubes in it, or the glass is not big enough. You're going to appreciate every last drop. So, in my point of view, for those of you who believe in, and again, a belief system doesn't matter to truth. So there could be plenty of people that listen to this and say he's lost his mind, or he's absolutely crazy. And that's their opinion, and that's fine. They're entitled to it because they're not ready for their life lessons at that point, but they will be eventually. Because change happens whether you want it to or not. If you're not meant to be with somebody, it doesn't matter if you call them your soulmate. It doesn't matter if you sacrifice everything for them. It doesn't matter if you put up with everything that they do. If you're not meant to be together, eventually it will get so hard that you have no choice and you will leave. Or they will leave you. And you will be miserable, and you will be sad, and you will be depressed, and you'll wonder, why did that have to happen? Why do you have that loss? Well, maybe somebody 5 years from now is going to be the best thing that ever happened to you. And if it wasn't for that person that you were with, you may not be the person that you are to find that person. You know, one of the things I've had to deal with in my life is trust. I've had many people in my life that I put trust in burn me and hurt me and take advantage of me. And I always wondered, well, why does that happen? Why is it that when I try and be kind, when I try and be generous, when I try and help people, I keep getting burned? That's happened here on this channel. It's even happened on my first We Love Comics channel. That all I did was try and help people, and I got brutally attacked by people unfairly. And I kept saying, woe was that me. Why did that have to happen? Why is it always happening? Until recently, when I started practicing what I preach and really getting into why What can I learn from the negativity? I realize that it makes me appreciate those I can trust, like my wife, who's been there for me through thick and thin, that I can be myself and she loves me for who I am. That's what matters. And I didn't really appreciate that as much as I do now. So just imagine if I didn't have those trust issues and those people that hurt me over the years. Maybe I would have never learned that lesson. Who knows? So all the people that are being triggered and talking crazy, like they say, forgive them for they know not what they do. I really believe that we are transitioning as a species. And for a new beginning to start, an old has to come to an end. And when you get close to that end, you get plenty of people based on fear holding on to old views, old ways. Look at all the corporations and governments and medias, how they're clinging to old ideas. Look at the religion and look at the sciences, how they're still clinging to old ideas, afraid of letting it go and moving to the next level. It's all based on fear. Fear can be a motivator if you see it for what it is. It can be a protection, but mostly it's to keep you from ever raising to another level. Remember, everything is an illusion. If you think about it, everything is made of energy, which is made of light. Look at you under an electron microscope. You are nothing more than cells that when you go further and further down becomes nothing more than electricity. And yet it all combined to create you. And that's why when they say things like, oh, the planet Gaia, it's alive, it's a living planet. Well, what if planet Earth and all the planets around us, whether they're flat or round or whatever, what if they're just cells in another living creature? Is that impossible? What if our solar system is nothing more than just protons and electrons? It's the idea of thinking deeper. So to me now that I see all this chaos in the world and all these people fighting and all these people saying the most ridiculous things, that maybe it's happening because we've come to a crossroad and we really want change. And be careful what you wish for, you might get it. That the fastest way to change is making it so miserable that you'll force yourself to change. Even the most stubborn people. Now, since probably 98 to 99% of the world is asleep or doesn't care or isn't at that level and they think this stuff is absolutely crazy, they're not going to do anything. They're going to love all the money that they're making. They're going to brag about how bitcoins are thousands of dollars. They're going to brag about how their stocks keep going up. They're going to brag about how they got this corporate government job. But it's going to keep them stuck where they are. And they're going to be complacent, not really striving to become better. But if change happens to the point where you have no choice, well, you're going to have to get rid of some old ideas, whether you want them to or not. Just like being in a relationship where one person loves the other and the other person decides to leave. You cannot make somebody stay. And if you do, you're not a nice person. That's why they say things like, if you love someone, set them free. If they come back, they're yours. If not, it was never meant to be. But that doesn't mean you can't learn from the experience. Some people, when they're hurt, they decide to take it internally, not learn anything, and then hurt others. How does that make you a better person? How does that help you to grow? And there are others who will be hurt and learn, I know what that feels like. I would never want to do that to someone else. Because if you hurt somebody else based on the fact that you got hurt, then how are you any better than the person who did it to you? And many people are just not smart enough or just not awakened enough to realize that. Because like I've said in many videos, you need real eyes to realize. So there's going to be plenty of people that will attack you, that will make fun of you, that will desert you. You don't need them in your life, and they are showing you what you don't need, because if somebody that you care about or somebody you love or somebody you trust hurts you or attacks you, they're trying to teach you something subconsciously. Maybe you're trying to teach yourself because you keep asking, how do I grow? Whether you're praying to a God, whether you're meditating or whatever, don't ask questions if you don't want to get the answers, because the answers are not always right there in front of you. They're not very clear, and they might not give you what you really think you need until you see the light at the end of the tunnel. So the fact that things are getting so crazy right now, where just having a quote-unquote normal conversation with some of these people out there just is the most ridiculous thing that you can ever think of. Maybe it's because it's finally going to awaken the stubborn people holding on to old ways. Because you're never going to grow, and we're never going to move on as a species unless we do it together. So maybe the next time you turn on CNN or Fox News or read the New York Post or the LA Times or watch a YouTube video where there's nothing but negativity and horror and pain, you might see it in a different way. Because you notice people like Alex Jones and other channels that do a lot of what I call fear porn, they get hundreds of times more views than I ever will, which proves my point that fear sells, drama sells. When I used to have people making fun of me all the time, and I used to go back and forth with them on my channel, I'd get 20 times the amount of views that I have now. So the negativity and the hatred, it gets people's attention. Not everybody is smart enough or at the level to be able to understand the purpose behind it, and that includes me at one point as well. No more why me. If you want some change in this world, if you're not doing everything in your power to make that change, then it's your fault. Take responsibility, just like I'm starting to take more responsibility. We all do. And Carolyn, if you're saying we're being lied to, yes, I agree, we're being lied to. Well, if you don't believe them, then it doesn't matter what their lies are. If somebody tells you that the sky is actually yellow, it doesn't matter if everybody else looks up and convinces themselves that it's yellow. If the sky is blue, it doesn't matter if somebody's lying and saying it's yellow. It's how you perceive it that matters. The problem is most people are so worried about what other people think that they'll change their own belief systems to just fit in so they won't be attacked or made fun of. And then you never grow. And that is why most people just do what everybody else does, because they're not at the level to think for themselves and see the positivity. It just means you're in a different level of school. And the funny part is, the only reason a college professor is smarter than a kindergarten teacher is the fact that a college professor already went through kindergarten through the end of high school to become a college student, to learn how to be a college professor. The kindergartner is just starting out. So does that make the college professor better? No, it just means he's at a different level because he's gathered, or she's gathered, more experience. So the masses may be asleep because they prefer to be in the dark and they live in fear, and it makes them angry and they react, which causes the very change that they're so afraid of. They don't realize that they create the very thing that they fear. And that is what we need. So we need them to be violent. It's unfortunate that it has to be that way, but destruction creates creation. It is a necessary evil. So evil thinks it's doing bad, but how many good people have come from evil situations? These governments throughout history have tried to keep mankind down, tried to keep them in control, tried to keep them afraid, and it's not working anymore. The only quote-unquote Trump card they have left is the nuclear war option, which will never happen. But even people in the quote-unquote awakened movement will still believe that's a possibility. It's kind of hard to rule what you destroy. Doesn't make sense to me. If I was a ruler trying to control the people, and I was wealthy beyond my wildest dreams because of the labor of the people, it would be kind of stupid of me to want to murder them, wouldn't it? People want you to live in fear, to stay with what is familiar. And Keon says, please take what I asked into consideration. I would have to see what you asked because I usually don't read the messages. I don't see anything that you wrote. I'm scrolling. Okay. You know you can't study for a test with the wrong answer. Well, how do you know what the wrong answer is until you've been taught and learned? Let's see. Can you please FaceTime? Teach us these things. I mean, it doesn't matter if you see my face. It's the message that matters. I just prefer to do it this way. I mean, there's plenty of videos if you want to see my face, or just get a picture of me and have it move along when you hear my words and just make a cartoon voice or something. I don't know. I just prefer to do it this way because it's easier. And Carol and Mira says, yes, they want to control us. They want to. They only control you if you allow them to control you. That's why I don't have a bank account. I don't use bank credit cards. I don't put myself in debt anymore. They don't control me. So, Adam, you can say they do control us. Well, what are you doing to fix that? What is it in their life? I don't rely on welfare or government programs, so how are they controlling me? I spend whatever fiat currency I have and turn it into collectibles, either gold and silver or coins or comic books, things that I can turn around and sell to make my own currency for myself to put food on the table. What is it that the government is doing that is controlling me? They're not stopping my voice from being heard by you people right now. You create how you feel. If you want to spend your whole life with a belief system the government is going to control you, guess what's going to happen? The government's going to control you. Not because they have the power, it's because you gave up yours. So to me, all these riots and all this media and all these lies, you haven't noticed that, especially with thank you for CNN, thank you for Hillary Clinton, and all this craziness is going on, how many new people have been awoken to the fact that the media lies? If it wasn't for that craziness, there would still be plenty of people that would think you're crazy. Years ago, when I first started my channel, I would talk about how the media is corrupt and the media lies to you, and I was laughed at hysterically. But now people are starting to see it. So it's a necessary evil, but evil is there because it's just the yin to the yang. If you want change, make it. If you want to live in fear, go ahead. If you want to have a belief system that you can't change, that's your decision. If the government's controlling you, find out why. What is it you need from them? And if they're not doing anything for you, they're not tucking you in bed, they're not putting food on your table, then what is it exactly they're controlling, other than the fact that everybody says it? Doesn't make it true. So to me, all that's going on in this world is showing me that we're reaching a new level. A new beginning is on its way. And for a new beginning, there has to be an ending. Like there was a song that once said, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. It's an endless cycle. Some are just faster than others because instead of fighting the current, they go with the flow. And many people are fighting the current right now. Now, if you were on the beach or you were on the side of that river and you're watching all of these people swimming against the current and they're drowning, as bad as that is, that teaches you, hey, I shouldn't jump in the water, and if I do, don't swim against the current. So if you view life from a spectator point of view, you can learn not only what to do, but what not to do. How did people know that, for example, some mushrooms can be poisonous unless somebody tried one and died from it? Now, it's unfortunate for that person, but it taught others not to eat that mushroom. That's what sacrifice is all about. So to me, all of these situations that have been coming up, instead of saying, why are these people so crazy? Why are they not able to communicate? Why is the media lying so much? Why is the government so much trying to control our very lives? And why are they trying to scare the living daylights out of us? Why? Because they fear the change that is coming, and they know they can't stop it, but they can slow it down. It's like a dam breaking. If you're in its way, you're going to get smashed. And you're going to drown. So don't be in its way. And if you're in its way, and you knew there was a possibility of a dam breaking, well, it's your own fault, isn't it? Just because you had a nice, cheap house that everybody was jealous of, that was in the path of destruction. You know, like they say in the old jokes, I went to a doctor and I told the doctor, every time I hit my knee, it hurts. And the doctor says, well, don't hit your knee. It's just that simple. Not everything in life is that simple, but you can always learn from everything. And you have to learn from yourself. If you're so angry that you are so blinded by hatred that you cannot see what is being hear what's being spoken, and you can't see what's really going on, the only person you ultimately hurt is yourself. When somebody projects anger, it's just, where's it coming from? It obviously comes from inside themselves, so they're angry for a reason. They're just trying to project their anger on somebody else in hopes that somebody will absorb it for them so they can feel better. Because they don't understand that they can just let it go, and the only thing in life that you should be doing is positive things. Yeah, I know what the name of the song was. I just didn't want to say specific names just in case. I used to sing that song in a band I used to be a part of. So to me, you can believe whatever you want. There's so many people that talk about things that there's no way to prove them other than what they've been regurgitated to. It's like religion, it's like science, it's like history. The only reason we know what we know is because somebody else told us. And when we learn more and more people have not exactly been the most honest of people, how do we base what we've learned throughout our whole lives to be true just because it's familiar and just because it's regurgitated? But people will hold on to belief systems so strongly that they'll never be willing to hear anything else. And in an infinite universe of possibilities, how could you limit yourself into one direction? It's up to you. So that's all I have to say about that. I want to thank you very much for listening to my second video for the day. Don't get used to that. It's not very often I do this, but that epiphany just popped in my head and I had to talk about it. So for me, I really think changes are coming. It's not going to change for everybody, and most people are not going to be able to hear it, and some people will just be left behind. I'm trying to tell the people, the very few people that understand or understand this stuff and are at higher levels, to lose the fear, see the negativity as a learning lesson, and see all the craziness that's going on as the beginning of the end for an old system. That doesn't mean that the earth is going to blow up or it's going to melt or we're going to kill each other. There may be people, when you make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs, but that omelet feeds somebody. Don't be one of those people that get fed. Thanks for watching. I hope you all have a great night. Leave your comments. Please hit the like button. I always appreciate the support. And I'll see you next video. Thanks for listening.